Let's do all the same stuff with Remi. So, somewhere in the process of doing these videos, I kind of stopped rushing with Remilia, because I was kind of doing that to a degree. But after a certain point, I kind of started playing a little bit more properly, and I'm not really sure why I did that, especially since this is a little bit later in the game. This is like the last level, and I mean, there's a 4-level difference between me and the enemies here, but it's really not that big a deal. If you think about it, because we're both pretty high level, and I'm still making quick work of the enemies. I'm down to like half health, but there's also like a third of the level that we didn't see just now. So because of that, I'm just gonna skip to some of the critical bits. Well, I learned a new spell, so I'm gonna equip that right here. I like Divine Spear the Gunganir, but we gotta at least do this spell once to see how it looks. Well, that looks pretty cool. I don't know why you can go that far back when the chest is over here. Generally, I've been ruining the atmosphere every time I come to an area with Remi. But I gotta let it settle in for this one, because it's the final level. I'm gonna lose about like 3 seconds of time on my speed run, but hey, I mean, there are some things that you gotta do. So while we're back here, I'm thinking about what I said in the last video, in the other video, about how they could have made this game better, and I'm trying to think of other ways they could have made this game better, and limitations they would have had to work with that would have made the things I think would make this game better harder to do, like trying to add more depth to the combat. I can see how that would be kind of hard for them to do for this sort of game, and for like, just the Dojin Circle to do, but I think, making the boss fights a little tougher, kind of like Suika Final Boss, or like making the level design a little different, a little bit more involved, I don't think would be too hard to actually implement, because that doesn't happen on the same level as adding depth to the combat. But really, saying all that stuff was just me kind of like just summing up how I feel about this game, the things I think that could be improved on, and the things I think that could be made better. I think the game is good. Graphically speaking, it's nice. Optimization could be a little bit better. It could be a lot better, actually. But it's definitely really, really pretty. If you've seen other Touhou fan games, this one is like literally the best looking one, like by far. It's got the most polish to it. Also, there's other stuff it's got going for it that makes it a lot better than other Touhou fan games. It's a lot more fun to play, and it's not like just a clone of some other already existing game or franchise. It definitely feels like it wants to be its own thing, and the same goes for Yo-Yo Kenkeki Musou too. Even though that felt a lot like an Ys game, it didn't feel like I was playing Ys skinned with Touhou. It felt like it was trying to be its own thing, which sometimes when you look at Touhou fan games, that seems like a lot to ask, which is why I really like Ankake Spa's games, even though it's just 2 so far. I hope they make another one, and I hope it's better than this, but also better than Kenkeki Musou. What I want for them is to keep going up, and while this was definitely a move upwards from Yo-Yo Kenkeki Musou in some ways, I feel like it was also a step down in others. But like just those things that could have been improved upon, or some, features that are in this game that could have just been left out, and the game would have been just as good or just as fun. And that's not to say it's a bad game. I don't think it's a bad game. There are definitely some things about this game that I don't like, and there's one part of this game that I absolutely hate, but I'll say my criticisms when we get to it. But otherwise, I really like this game. It's better than the first one in some ways, not so much better than the first one in others. I don't know how long the people in Ankake Spa have been making games, or whether or not Yo-Yo Kengeki Muso was actually their first game, which if it was, I mean, that's pretty damn impressive, because that game is pretty good and fun. But I feel like there's room for improvement here, and if they use that room for improvement and make those improvements, expand all the good things, and maybe kind of cut down on the things that aren't so great, bring back difficulty and all that other stuff that I mentioned and that other people have said by now, I think their next game, if they make a next game, would be pretty great. I don't know how long their, let's call it a development cycle. I don't know how long that lasts for Ankake Spa, because Kengeki Muso came out when? I think 2011? And this game came out, 2014, I think. Like, late 2014, this game came out. And the first one, the Yomu game, came out, like, late 2011. That's kind of a big gap. But regardless, I hope they do make another Touhou game, because these are actually pretty fun, and I actually like these Touhou fan games. I don't usually like Touhou fan games, because I just kind of play them, and then, like, I think, oh, this is kind of neat, this is cool, and then I kind of stop playing them. But it's kind of different for Ankake Spa, because, like I said, like, it feels like they're trying to be their own thing, so it actually feels kind of unique. It doesn't feel like it's just another game with a Touhou paint job, basically, is what I'm trying to say. It feels like it's trying to be a Touhou fan game, while also trying to make, like, its own mark. And that's one of the things I really like about Ankake Spa's games. Okay, so before we fight the boss, I may as well equip some higher numbers. I just want to be prepared for Suika. Also, while I'm at it, I think I'll switch back to Divine Spear, Gungnir. I just like that spell card a little bit more. Again, I don't know why they didn't just render it as Hiso Tensoku instead of unimaginable heavenly rule or whatever, or a natural law or whatever they tried to translate Hiso Tensoku into, because they didn't realize it was a proper name, I guess, or some reason they tried to do that. That's why Touhou 12.3 is also referred to as Touhou UNL. I still really like the music in this boss fight. So as usual, the projectiles are going to be a lot easier to dodge as Remilia, as long as you don't fuck up like I did before, because she has her floaty little jump. Her floaty little jump also makes Hiso Tensoku's punches a little bit easier to jump out of the way. Also, if you're quick enough with the vampire dive, you can do a full lap around Hiso Tensoku and you won't even notice. Or care. I'm not sure if that actually messes with the way he figures out how to attack you or not. It kind of looks like it might, though. The vampire dive is also pretty useful for getting out of the way of his attacks when he tries to smash his hand on you to do his chop or his punch. It's also pretty good if you want to get back really quick so you can do some damage. Again, if you have any kind of ranged skills equipped during this fight, you can actually wail on him without him actually having to try and chop you or punch you. I happen to not have any of those ranged skills equipped, so I can't do that. However, what I do have is a ranged spell card. That'll definitely get me the result I want. Final boss Suika again, this time with Remilia. It's actually not terribly different than it is with Zakia, except it feels a little bit easier because I'm playing as Remilia, and Remilia makes the whole game kind of easier. Just a bit. This boss fight's fun no matter what though, so even though I'm playing as Remilia, it's still, you know, Suika can still really kick my ass if I'm not careful. The name of the game is Don't Get Hit by Suika, or if you do, just don't get hit too much. And remember, the thing to keep in mind is this is basically kind of like a remix of the time we fought her in Yokai Mountain. She does most of all the same stuff, except now she's a little bit more powerful and she throws a little bit more into the mix. Otherwise, it's kind of the same boss fight, just better. In fact, if you only fight Suika once in this game, and it was in Yokai Mountain, then this basically ought to be the boss fight. But that goes back into the criticism for difficulty level in this game. That's another thing I think they could have made better about this game, but I guess I don't know how hard it would be to implement, is if as the boss runs out of health, they kind of start to change up their patterns, their routine a little bit. They get new attacks and stuff like that. Lots of bosses in games do that, but I like those games better because the boss fights are usually a little bit tougher because of that. And as a result, they're also a little bit more fun.